The Falcons have not been a good offense this season. I'm not even breaking any news saying that. Early on, we were able to move the ball. We just couldn't score. And people were like, okay, the scoring will come along because we can move the ball. And then the scoring never came and the yards went down. So we're in a bad spot, and rightfully so. Everybody wants Zac Robinson gone. I'm one of the people that want him gone too. I just want him in college. I don't want him to lose his job or nothing like that. But Raheem Morris has come out and said that we're not going to make a coaching change mid-season, and I agree with that. I don't think firing Zac Robinson is going to do any good because you're just going to elevate somebody from his staff who's going to do the same thing, and then we'll be in the same situation. So it's much bigger than just who's calling the plays. And subsequently, people that want Raheem Morris gone, that's also not going to change anything. Okay, so people are just wanting change for no reason. Well, not for no reason, but they just want it just to be just because. Okay. In my last video, I kind of threw a hint out there where I was saying if Raheem Morris doesn't want to fire Zac Robinson mid-season, which we already know he confirmed that, I would do everything I can to help him out. That way, I can't say I didn't try. And if the help didn't work, just get rid of him. And my main thing was get an offensive consultant. And so today we're going to be an offensive consultant, and this is going to be my take on what we need to do. This isn't going to be a complete facelift of the offense. It's going to be literally just the same things we do. So we're going to talk about what's going wrong with the offense, and then we're going to talk about, what's going right, I guess, if you want to put it like that, and why we need to keep doing those things that are going right, because if we keep doing it, this offense will start being competent, and then points will start to come in bunches. So without further ado, if y'all guys do enjoy this video, be sure to like and subscribe for more. So let's go and get into it. So for the first thing I want to look at the problems in the run game, and then I want to talk about what we can do to somewhat fix it. And so first we're going to look at our bread and butter, the outside zone. So in case you don't know, outside zone is obviously an outside hit and run, which means we're trying to get on the perimeter of the defense. By pressing the edges of the defense, you're going to force these linebackers to overcommit, and that's going to open up cutback lanes. And once you have the outside zone going, that's when coaches start to call the bootlegs, where you're going to fake the run and you're going to boot out the other way and get those easy passes into the flat. The first reason why these zone runs aren't as effective right now is because we're getting beat to the spot. As a running back, you are taught to read the leverage of these defensive linemen. If they aren't crossing the face of their offensive lineman, you're going to keep pressing that gap. However, if the first defender is in the play side gap, you read the next defender, and so on and so on. And in this example, you see the defensive end and the defensive tackle have crossed the faces of our offensive linemen. And it doesn't help that the defensive end on the backside is crashing down hard with the safety filling. And as you can see, this leaves Bijan nowhere to go, and we have to take a no gain on this play. Another reason why these aren't as effective is because these coaches have simplified it for their linebackers. And Zac Robinson has said this in a press conference that the defenses that we're playing, they're simple now. And in my opinion, you can play faster when it's simple because you know what's coming. In this example, we're also running outside zone to the right, but since that's only the main run we do, they're going to be able to shoot this gap because they just know what's coming. Over the past 2 weeks, it's clear that the linebackers are being taught by their coordinators to just fill fast immediately because there's no threat of the play action, and then there's no threat of another kind of run. Now, I'm not saying completely do away with outside zone, but that one changeup that I'm talking about can punish those linebackers that are filling fast, and that concept is duo. Duo is one of the main changeups in the West Coast offense because it directly punishes those fast flowing linebackers and those over pursuing defensive linemen. Now, some people often confuse duo with inside zone because you also get double teams on the defensive tackles, but the main difference between duo and inside zone is inside zone, you're working laterally. Duo, you're working vertically. Another way to tell that it's duo is that the running back is working opposite the flow of the offensive line. In this situation, Bijan's working the opposite, but he's going to cut back towards the flow. It messes with the keys of the linebackers, and it also creates big holes if those double teams are executed perfectly. You see in this example that the A gap opens up wide for Bijan, and the nearest safety to fill is number 11, who's too far away. You could make an argument that number 20 is in a position to chase down the line and make a tackle on Bijan, but since the run action is going his way, he fills the C gap, taking himself out the play. Some people refer to duo as power without a puller because it does create vertical displacement just like power. And that's why all the successful teams in this West Coast tree always mix in duo a healthy amount, because if you start to knife through those gaps in the zone run, you're not going to be successful. Punishing those over aggressive linebackers by running straight at them will cause them to hesitate more, and that opens up the zone run. Once again, you can get into your offense the same way. So for my fix to the run game would to be add more duo into your play calls, because that would keep the defense honest. they have nothing to be honest to right now, and that's a bad thing. And the good thing about our run game is that we've tried to mix in different concepts. We've tried dual, we've tried counter and crunch, but we haven't tried them or done them nearly as much as we could or should have. And I'm not saying we need to run every single run concept there is, but when you mix a few just fine, you'll be deadly in the run game. The 2024 Ravens is a great example because they did a lot of gap scheme early on in the first half of games, and the linebackers would adjust that and stay square and stay gap sound. But then comes the second half and they start to run more zone scheme, and you can get out on the edges on them, and that's how Derrick Henry was breaking off long runs. The Ravens will lull them to sleep thinking they're about to be a downhill run game that day, and then all of a sudden they come out in the second half and they're getting out on the edges on them. So it's how you mix in the different runs. You don't just call one run and base out of it. Well, you base out of a run, but you just don't spam it over and over again, because you're not going to be as effective as you could be if you're mixing in some ambiguity. And I have friends that are Falcons fans that are telling me every time we see each other, like, bro, we just need to get out of pistol because it's not working. And I understand the frustrations because nobody else really runs pistol. That's like the low-hanging fruit that everybody wants to talk about, but pistol itself isn't a bad formation. It's just how we use the formation, how we get into our offense, because I guarantee you, and I tell them this as well, if we go under center or just base out of shotgun completely, none of our problems are going to change, because we're still going to be running the same stuff over and over again, and defense are still going to just do the same thing. And Zac Robinson even said that, pistol is tough to defend from coordinators that he's talked to, because, you don't know how to really declare it. So if he knows that the formation is hard to defend, you're supposed to be ambiguous about it. You're not supposed to be or one-dimensional. You have to be multi-dimensional if you're going to run a formation that people hate. Like, it's just bad process in my opinion. But anyways, that was the run game. I want to talk about the pass game because Zac Robinson said something yesterday that really just validated what I thought about, the passing game. In the press conference on Wednesday, he said something about the passing game that really caught my attention. He said something about something being a Kirk play or a Mike play, and I'm like, are we really having different pass plays based on who's at quarterback? Now, I understand why they would do that, but if you look back at last year and you see what we were running and what we're running this year, it's night and day that, Mike is running Mike stuff and Kirk was running Kirk stuff, and Mike was running Kirk stuff just fine when he came in for the last 3 games. And I know that was kind of hard to keep up with, but basically what I'm saying is when Mike came in for those last 3 games, we were running the offense that was tailored to Kirk, and now that we're running an offense tailored to Mike, it just isn't as effective, because even Zac Robinson said, he went back and pulled from college stuff that he did well, and this is the NFL, okay? Let Mike do what Kirk is doing. But let's get into what I'm talking about as far as pass game wise and what we need to fix, and also what's going wrong with it. When you look at the Falcons passing game when Mike is under center, you notice a few things. The first thing is that there are a lot of mirror concepts being called, which means you're going to be getting the same route distributions on each side of the play. Mirror concepts in the vacuum aren't a bad thing to run, but when you're running both of these and they're also outbreaking routes, it becomes difficult to find consistent answers versus zone coverages and sometimes man coverage if the guys can't separate, and we deal with that problem. The second thing I kind of hinted at already is that we just don't attack the middle of the field when we have Mike under center. Like, a lot of these concepts, they rarely go over the middle of the field, and I understand that coverage dictate where the ball should go, but a lot of this stuff is still not designed to hit in the middle of the field, and if it does, they are static routes. If you say his arm can touch any part of the field, why aren't you letting him throw over the middle of the field? It just doesn't make sense. I want to show y'all this play from week 3 that pretty much sums up what I'm talking about. They're going to motion over Bijan to the left side of the field to create a dirty bunch. Offensively, what we're going to be getting is Bijan, he's going to be running a wheel route, and you're going to have 2 stop routes in the same area of the field. One's just deeper, and then on the other side of the field, you're going to have Kyle also running a stop. It looks like this play is designed for Bijan to get the ball down the field, but there are no built-in answers if you get a different coverage. The Panthers do end up playing man-to-man coverage, but they have the safety come and play Bijan from top down, so this whole play is dead, and Mike has nowhere to go. How do you expect your quarterback to succeed in this type of play? And then the obvious elephant in the room is the lack of play action, really no play action in general. We have one of the best run games in the league, and we just don't leverage that on defenses. They're starting to jump stuff because we don't run play action. There's no threat of the play action. So while we talk about fixes, play action is the main one. Like, we've seen Mike be good in play action. He was one of the best play action quarterbacks in college. So why does that just stop? And it's one of the easiest ways to get the passing game going. So check this out. All it takes is for one defender to be out of position on a run fake, and you're going to have a big void over the middle of the field. On this play, you can see in front of the play action, we have a dagger concept with KC Washington clearing out space for Drake London to run this deep in cut. And you see the play action got the defenders up, and it's an open void in the middle of the field. There needs to be more stuff like this consistently, not just every now and then. This is another example of him throwing over the middle of the field, because it's not like he can't do it. This is a 3rd and goal from the 20-yard line. What we're getting on offense is a deep in cut by Drake London and then the variation to snag at the bottom of the screen. And the Panthers, they're playing cover 2, and we know end breakers kill cover 2. And guess what he does? He rips the in cut, and it's a touchdown. It's not like he can't do it. We just not calling it for some reason. And I hope this video showed you that, yes, while this offense is underperforming, it's not like there's just nothing positive about it going on. And one thing I got to complain about is people acting like sports isn't a fluid subject, okay? Zac Robinson can call a good game and then call a bad one the next week. People are really in my comments weeks after games, oh, how do you feel now? Like, he still called a good game that game, but he didn't call one this previous Sunday. So it's just, y'all, like, stop it, please. But the bottom line is that there are some redeemable qualities about this offense that if we just do more of, we can actually produce points along with the yards. So if y'all guys do enjoy this video, be sure to like and subscribe for more, because I will be putting out more stuff like this. And I switched up the video presentation, so I wonder if y'all mess with that. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.